and good evening, listeners, to a wonderful Wednesday night of Chill Use of Knowledge is Power. And if you're interested in tonight's subject, please give us a call at 239-5733. So let me make my round so we can get straight into this conversation. So first of all, I want to say hi to Katrina, who is my engineer on tonight. Hello, Katrina.
Hello.
And how are you this evening?
I'm well. How are you?
I am doing wonderful.
That's
and I want to
great.
thank you so very much for being with me here on tonight. And I want to say hello to Al. I hope Al is listening to me tonight. I hope you feel better and you're with me on next week. And if you're not with me next week, I'll keep waiting and talking to old Paul. How you doing, Paul?
I got an old Paul at that. Why can't I just be cute Paul?
Well, I'm gonna say you look so dapper tonight because you have shoes on. I know you do. However, he has on shorts, so All right, listeners, tonight we're going to be talking to Miss Tulani Person. Tulani is a life strategist and empowerment speaker. She identifies barriers that causes people to become stuck in life. She discovers the living of life of existence causes individuals to believe that their life circumstances cannot change. As a certified John Maxwell Teacher, speaker, and coach, Tulani uses practical applications of John Maxwell proven leadership method to mentor people to grow and maximize their potential. Tulani, tonight we're going to be talking about life of existing, the causes that keep people from being stuck. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good.
That's great. Tulani, I really do enjoy talking to you. Honestly, you are the actual first life coach that I've ever met in my life. And let me retract that. You're not my first. You're the first one that seemed to live up to the title of a life coach.
Wow, thank you.
I've met some other ones now that I think about it.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe that's what they were telling me they were. But I think you live an example about what you try to teach individuals because you send out those videos. I pay attention to your videos. They're very informational. You host sessions for people. But what you really do, you give out free information in order to help people. Some life coaches that I've come to learn, they automatically want to charge people for services. And it's not so much for services, for giving information. And sometimes in order to encourage people or get people attention, you need to kind of put something out there in order to attract people. And I want to tell you thank you because there's a lot of people who need help. They can't pay for it. So to be able to find your information out there for free in order to encourage people to pay attention to your lessons that you're presenting, or even to make a life change that they will want to participate in your prayer that you have on Wednesday mornings, that they will want to eventually participate in your workshops that you have. Because that's how I first started out with you. You know, I think it was just the phone calls that you had, and then you had the prayers in the morning. Yes, I did drop off. That was just too early in the morning for me, you know. And then it works up. And I just want to tell you, thank you so very much for being an example for what you teach, because that is so rare. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, let's get into this conversation. Well, I want to say a hello to another person that's here in the studio. I want to say hello to my mom that's here in support tonight. Hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Mom.
So anyways, that's my mom, Miss Elaine Vine, who's here in the studio with me tonight. I didn't think she was going to show, but she did come. You sure you don't want to sit here at the mic? And no, I'm fine. She's so fine. Thank you. All righty. So we're talking about living a life of existing. So can you define what is living and what is existing?
First, I would define life from the standpoint of truth. And when you mentioned to me about me living, you know, as an example of what I teach, it comes from a place of owning my truth. Mm-hmm. And I think when you, matter of fact, I know when you speak of truth, mm-hmm. It starts from being made in God's image. Mm-hmm. And that's a truth. Mm-hmm. And so when you think of life, I define living first is the state of your life. And when I look at life, define it as a state of being. Mm-hmm. It really is one description defined in the dictionary, that state of being. And when you think of your state of being, are you living in your soul, from your soul, when
Okay.
you connected to your spirit, with your mind, your will, and your emotions, and most importantly, in the image of God? Are you reflecting that image on a daily basis? So when you think of the image of God, that creative force, that when he created, the heavens and the earth, and he created mankind, that same image of reflecting creativity, it flows through us. Peace, love, joy, self-control, the fruit of the spirit. I can go on. And when you think of that, you have to ask yourself, are you living in that state? Are you advancing in that state?
Okay.
Yes. That makes sense?
Yeah,
I
it
hope
does. It
okay,
does.
thank
Now,
you.
what is existing?
Existing is defined, actually, the dictionary defined it, living especially under adverse conditions. So that word exists, when it applies to us as humans, us living under factors that work against us, or issues that keep us from being the person we were created to be.
Okay.
And so for me, there were issues where I was living a life of existing. For example, one, allowing public opinion, people's opinion of me, to stop me from being creative and flowing in the gifts that God has given me. So I would just live under that issue and not be afraid to express myself. And so when you think of exist, what ended up turning it out to be was, when I continued to live that way and kept denying myself the image of God that was flowing through me, I ended up with 2 major episodes of depression. And that's when I discovered, this gift and talent that was on the inside of me, of discovering my truth. And existing ended up in a cycle of frustration, dread, and it's a continued cycle. And when you think that it's going to go away, when you continue to deny yourself being you under any type of issue that you may be experiencing, you have to ask yourself, am I experiencing this dread and frustration? And if you are, what am I truly? Am I living? Am I experiencing life, this abundant life, or am I just existing?
Can I use living as purpose?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if I can, in exchange the words, so I'm not going to use living anymore. I'm going to live purpose. There's a difference in living your purpose and just existing. So if a person, what is the benefits of living your purpose opposed to just existing?
Well, one, I want to point out, especially with this being a Christian audience, Jesus talks about it withering when you don't abide in him. And he goes on to say that he chose and appointed you to produce, to have productivity, to produce fruit, one in your image, and another part in the plans that God has for your life. So those are 2 areas when I define living your purpose. And I think the biggest myth, and I know I was there, when I thought of purpose, I always thought of, what's this big it that I'm supposed to doing. But I never looked at from the standpoint of who I was, standing in the power that I have on the inside of me, and then walking this journey of life, of seeking my truth, owning my truth, and then experiencing the plans that God has for my life.
Okay.
So when I define living your purpose, it's 2 areas that you really have to focus on, to ask yourself, am I owning my truth in this area? Is number 1, being the person you were created to be, and number 2, living God's plans for your life.
Okay. How does a person discover their purpose?
Growth.
Okay. And what would be some examples of the type of ways a person can grow in order for them to be able to find their purpose?
The thing is about growth, and when you talk about truth and the standpoint of human nature, there are spiritual and natural laws that we have to abide by. And when you're in that place of understanding, you may understand certain things about life. For me, I understood things about the Bible, but I wasn't putting it into practice. And the reason I wasn't putting it into practice is because I was not allowing or testing those laws by faith to see how they work in areas of my life that I was called to. So when you get into that standpoint of growth and starting out, you have to ask yourself, have I really taken ownership of who I am? And have I really take ownership of this talent that I have been given? So for example, a person that is good at baking and desire to open a bakery, have they really taken the time to grow in character? It's so interesting when you think of life, and I say the state of being, and James Allen, I think, he says it best when he defines the person that as a man thinketh. He said a man is literally what he thinks.
That's true.
His character, a complete sum of his thoughts. And so when you think of that, am I growing in character? Am I really rising to the occasion of what I know, what I've been taught? For example, maybe in church, what I'm being taught, in the word, am I really applying that on my life as a daily basis? And that's why I really had to match and combine faith and science. Faith and science,
So
natural
you
laws
didn't
and
separate them, you combined them.
I combined them.
Okay.
I combined them because you can't do one without the other. That's
true.
why the personal growth industry is a $13 billion industry where they are getting results, but at the same time, I could not abandon my faith.
True.
And so
they intertwine. That is true.
Yeah, so I had to have my faith and combine the science and recognizing that there are spiritual and natural laws. And it's so interesting, one of the things that I want to stress that's so important is, what comes from spiritual and natural laws is the wisdom of God when he created the heavens and the earth and spoke things in existence. But when Jesus came in the earth and walked as man, what did you find him doing? He went to the temple. He was learning and growing. And so by law, we are to grow. We're not supposed to be stagnant. And that's really what he was talking about in John chapter 15, is abiding in him, partnering with him, and producing a life in those two areas of who you were created to be and the plans that he has for your life.
Okay. You said something very important, is ownership. And I remember telling you, I just started reading a book on the principles of success. I just picked it up last night. Thick book. And the very first chapter talks about it. Not so much does he say ownership, but you have to be accountable for your actions 100%.
Most definitely.
100%.
Yes.
You have to stop complaining about things. You have to, if things went wrong, you need to look at how you played a part of it. If things aren't going the way you want them to go, you have to you have to look at the reason why it's not going the way that you want it to is because of you. It says it's not the anyway. The only time you can make a change in your life is that you have to first admit to your own contributions to whatever is going on in your life, if I'm saying that correctly. So what I do find, if you're trying to, I'm gonna tell you the truth, my mom here, I'm nervous tonight. Look at my mom looking. She looked like, no, she's not. Yeah, my mom is here tonight. That makes a difference. But anyways, when you are trying to make a change, you have to really look at yourself first. And when you look at yourself, you have to look at yourself in an aspect as, what change am I going to make, and what is it that I've been doing wrong in the past? I think that sometimes when people aren't, how can I say it? I can't say it tonight.
What is it?
I don't know.
Oh.
It's bad tonight, huh? What you think, Paul?
I think you're all right. I think you're all right.
Yeah, you was going somewhere with it.
It's easy to lose your train of thought.
Yeah, it is, but it's also hot in here, too. Thank you. That's what it is. Thank you so much. It's so hot in here tonight. But the thing is when you're trying to seek your purpose, you have to really look at yourself. And I think a lot of times you have to dispel a lot of the, I don't know tonight. I'm blank tonight.
You have to deal with your reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's the I won't say scary, but that's what causes one to draw back, because sorrow, the root of sorrow, and I mean sorrow comes, is really defined uneasiness in the mind. So anything that probably was painful for an individual, rejection, fear of the future. You know, sometimes people may get to a point where they face a retirement and may not be satisfied with the results of their life and may be thinking that it's too late. Anything that kind of agitates your mind to cause you to feel uncomfortable, because it really takes you out of your comfort zone. And that's one of the things that I find that a lot of people don't want to be taken from that space of not being comfortable.
Okay.
Being uncomfortable, rather.
Yeah, being uncomfortable. Yeah.
Because you have to deal with those issues. For example, I give an example, me having to deal with rejection. That is, looking at it for what it is. When that negative emotion comes up when I get rejected, do I fall back and retreat or set up a boundary where I won't try again, or do I allow this to be a growth experience and moving forward? All of that is really just about growing and recognizing, because the thing about not growing is you remain stuck. And anytime you get a new ideal, a goal, or vision, it requires a new mindset. And a lot of times one may think that they need to attach themselves to a goal or a vision, and when it don't work out, it's not that you're not qualified. You are qualified. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with you not getting the education. It has everything to do with being in rhythm. And that's one principle, that being in rhythm, and that's making that choice, getting into that rhythm to match your mindset with the vision that God has for you. And that's what it was for me. I started out, for example, 5 years ago, where I really didn't know, but I knew that I wanted to work with professional athletes. So that was my target. But as I was on this journey, I was growing and focusing on growth. I thought that that's what I was supposed to do, but things didn't work out the way that it did. But if I didn't know these life principles that are hidden and that we have to pay attention to, I would have quit. But I didn't. And so I started out creating a workshop for professional athletes. I worked with a group of individuals that were preparing for the NFL draft. And when I was done, I didn't desire it anymore. But I didn't stop the process of what I was learning, and then the skills that I had acquired and working on it. It put me into the position where now I'm doing desires of your heart. But what if I would have stopped? You know?
So finding your purpose is a journey. It's not like you just go through a couple of things in life and say, oh, I found my purpose. Are you saying that it is a life journey and that a lot of things are contributed to you finding your purpose?
It's really about you. Okay. Life is about being. It's not about doing. And so when you get in that state of being in the moment and testing the things that you have come into connection with, like I say, everyone is intelligent. Everyone is intelligent.
That is true.
Your intelligence is connected to that gift that you have. So, for example, if you are a hairstylist, that's not a bad thing. You know, if that's something that you're called to do, that there's a gift you were born with, your intelligence will increase, where you begin to identify vitamins, knowing different things about where
that is your purpose.
If that's what you're...
Got it.
Because the thing about it is that your gift is attached, is connected to you.
That is true.
And so by it being connected to you, when you don't use it, it begins to...
I understand what you're saying. I'm back on track now. I needed that air. No, Katrina, thank you so much. It was so hot in here. It wasn't that I was nervous. It's just that it was hot in here. But anyways, Paul.
Yeah.
So I I participated in this program that's called Landmark Education. Landmark Education is in Novi. And something they had us do, we had to create our own purpose or mission statement. And if you were able to come up with one, that was good. If you weren't, that means that you didn't really quite know. And so I can't remember how long the sessions were. It was over a couple of months. I finally developed my own mission statement that I come to find out it is my purpose in life. And what my mission statement is that I'm an extraordinary woman that's been given gifts and talents to help people overcome their adversity through education and training. So that's actually what I do. I am an extraordinary woman. I have been given gifts and talents to help people overcome their adversity in education and job training. So the gifts, so if I go back and I look, honestly, I hated school. When I was a child, I hated school because I was planning on getting married. So to me, what was the purpose of education if I was going to get married? Only thing I needed to do was a woman's job, cook, clean, and have kids. That was my mentality. So then what ends up happening is that I get married, I go through things in my marriage, and I ended up in school. Not only did I acquire my bachelor, I acquired my associates after my divorce, my bachelor's after my divorce, my associates after my divorce, and my doctorates after the divorce. So there was a lot of things that took me through this journey for me to get to a level of education. Even when I first started teaching, it was a culture shock to me because I was teaching children, and children had some behavior problems, and I didn't know children behave like that. And so once I started teaching children, I kind of liked it. So I kind of fell into a little niche there, like this is something I really like and I enjoy doing. And so then after that, I crossed over into adult education. Once I got into adult education, I realized that's what I love doing. And so now I have invested my life in helping other people academically. And it's not just academically that I help other people. I even go back and help kids through something else I enjoy doing is writing. And so if I was to go back years ago in school, I think the only thing I liked in school was coloring and writing. So I think a lot of times we go through things and we don't understand that the trials and tribulations that's put before us aren't really that bad. They seem to be bad, but it's our perspective of what they are. We determine if they're bad or not, but they're supposed to be creating who we are. And I look at my past and all the things that I've done that has created me as to the female that I am today. And I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. And it hasn't been easy. And like you said, if for like what I do for a living, someone was telling me the other day they didn't think what I did was real. And it offended me for a little bit. Because I'm like, well, how do you not know what I'm doing is real? And they said, well, you were at this one location, and then you moved to this other location, then you moved to this other location. So they don't think what you're doing is real. So in my mindset, I said, they don't see that I haven't given up. That, yeah, I may have been in one location, but I didn't give up. I moved to another location. I didn't give up, and now I'm at a home. And I like to call it home because I didn't give up. And I think sometimes, well, I would say for me, I'm learning more and more not to give up on things and how to see adversity in a different light. And that is not really adversity in a negative light, but it is something to teach me to be a better person or to be the person that I was created to be through God.
Yes.
So I would say that I am living, and I would say before I understood all of this, I was existing. And I wouldn't trade nothing in the world for living opposed to existing. Also, when I was existing, I didn't know that I was trying to seek my purpose. I had no clue. I just remembered that there had to be something else in life besides the norm that people tells you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to school. You're supposed to graduate. You're supposed to get a job. You're supposed to get married and have children. But there had to be something else in life because that's really mundane to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I started searching and seeking. You know, I started reading different books. I started listening to people I would have never listened to before. I started going through programs that I would have never done before. And the thing is that a lot of the things that I participated in and read, somebody recommended it to me. It's not necessarily that I just found it on my own. And I think a lot of times when you pray, I think sometimes people don't really believe in what they're praying for. So if you believe in or you're praying for a change, you have to believe it, and then you have to keep moving in those steps, seeking. And that's one thing I always do is seek knowledge. And not only do I seek knowledge, my thing is to always to implement the knowledge that has been taught to me. So I'm glad for my journey. Paul, what about your journey?
You know, I enjoy everything that I do. And the bottom line is, if you're not changing, you're not trying. If you're not failing, you're not trying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you gotta.
But see, that's the thing about failing. Yeah.
Journey.
Yeah. And the thing about failing, I think our vocabulary is another thing that hinders us because honestly, what is failure? What is failure? That means you tried and it just didn't work out that way. That means you learned something from it.
And the thing is that here's a scripture that talks about when God said, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, my ways are not your ways." And if He created you, but He gave you your willpower, what happens is when you're on a journey and you developing something, for me developing my business and the different content, to make a long story short, my thoughts had to match His thoughts. So each time I failed, I was getting closer and closer to what the place of His will was for me.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I never tried?
You have to try.
Each content that I was developing from 2015, I can show you 3 pages to now one content I completed is over 79 pages. And then this one, Desires of the Heart, I'm constantly adding to it.
Yeah.
But I had to get into that rhythm and that space for Him to develop me and grow me and mature me where I can be able to handle what it is that He has given me. In the light of how He created me.
What support you name your business is Inherit Authentic Mission.
Yes.
So what support does your organization offer to individuals who are trying to seek a life of living?
One is I'm getting ready to launch in October a mentorship program where establishing a growth plan. So for a year and ongoing, of the same principles, life principles that I learned, share on a monthly basis. And just, I call it faith in action, where you use your faith and accountability to and through mentorship to help someone, push them through the process. And because it is a process of moving forward and not remaining stuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And another one, of course, is workshops, group sessions. To start like a Desires of Your Heart workshop on next week, and keynote speaking as well.
And what is your website too?
I am Tulani, Tulani, person, person.com.
I recommend listeners to please write that down and have the opportunity, when you get the opportunity, please visit her website to see her wonderful videos on inspirational words that she have for you. I think once you get onto her website, you're able to join somewhere that you'll be able to get emails on a regular basis.
Yes, you can subscribe, and I send videos through email.
And when you get them like every day, and they're very inspirational. So listeners, please forgive me on tonight. I was a little bit discombobulated. I like that word, discombobulated, on tonight, but I kind of got back on track. And I want to say, Paul, thank you so much.
No worries.
No worries.
I was wondering when you were going to come to me. I heard you call my name, and I said, well, you just don't need now.
I'm sorry. Catherine, I want to tell you so. Katrina, I'm sorry. God, I am not doing a good job tonight. But you know what? I want to tell you thank you. Mom, thank you for coming tonight.
Welcome.
You can't come
Listeners.
back no more. You got to stay home.
Listeners, I want to tell you thank you so very much for listening to me on tonight, and I hope you have an outstanding work week.